Hi, I'm Craig O'Sullivan, the Preacher's Coach. This is the second video in a 5-part video series where we're learning the message cheat sheet, strategy used by professional speakers, TED talkers, and the top preachers from across the planet that help them prepare a message in a fraction of the time. Have you ever had a song stuck in your head? Maybe days, weeks, even months after hearing it? But it's not the whole song that gets stuck in your head. You're sitting in the shower and just that one bit of the song pops in. And you don't even actually know the rest of the words, but you know these 2 or 3 words and they just keep playing over and over again. Maybe you know this all too well because you've got kids. And you've got children's movie songs stuck in your head, like, let it go, let it go. I can't tell you how many times I have that song in my head, even years after that movie was released. This strategy is not just used for children's movies, but also by the pop industry, where they create music that gets stuck in your head, and it's done by a specific strategy called the hook. So we're going to look at today how we can use this same strategy that the pop industry uses to get music stuck in our heads, so that we can have our message stuck in our audience's head in days, weeks, hey, maybe even months after you've preached the sermon. Aristotle was quoted to say, "We are what we repeatedly do." And when we preach a sermon, the ultimate aim is we want our congregation to be able to be transformed in their behaviors and actions. So how do we do this? Well, as Aristotle says, by helping them repeatedly do it. And this is done through the hook. Stephen Furtick uses this strategy in almost every one of his sermons. You'll notice that he will repeat his hook, which is generally his sermon title, again and again throughout his sermon. He'll even get his audience to engage in it by getting them to repeat it back to him or turn to a neighbor and tell them the hook. Think of your favorite sermon. You know that one that stuck with you months, even years down the track. Was it because the pastor repeated the title again and again throughout the sermon? That's a hook. The sermon that stands out for me is a message by Stephen Furtick, titled, "We Are That Church." It's a perfect example of how to use a hook. Because I'm sure that there's been times that people have talked about that church, maybe even talking about your church, in a negative context. He shares this story about being a guest preacher at an event, and on his way to that service, they drive past another church that had an overflowing car park. And he just mentions in passing to the pastor, "Hey, that church looks like it's rocking." And the pastor, obviously a little defensive, turned around and said, "Oh, that church? You don't want to go to that church." Now, Stephen Furtick used this as his message title, and he used it as his hook, regularly repeating, using what most people use in a negative context, but using it in a positive context, saying, yes, we are that church. Stephen Furtick is using the hook in a very strategic way, taking the negative comment, but using it in a positive context. This sticks in people's minds because it's familiar to them, but it's slightly different. So they pay attention and it sticks in their mind. There is a workshop that I run where I train people how to communicate confidently in unfamiliar and awkward situations. Now, how do you have confidence in awkward situations? A lot of people will use the reference of fake it till you make it. So I've taken this familiar statement and put a slight shift on it. And the program that I run is called Faith It Till You Make It, which is not talking about being fake in the moment, but having faith in yourself. Now, it's a familiar statement of fake it till you make it with a new twist of faith it till you make it, so people recognize it and they remember it. This is one powerful way to use a hook. We teach you in our Preacher's Workshop, Parabology, how to use hooks in a number of different ways to help your message stick in your audience's minds for days, weeks, even months after you've preached it. So if you want to find out more about how to use a hook more effectively, jump onto the website www.craigosullivan.com/parabology and check out our workshop that's coming to your city soon. I'm Craig O'Sullivan, the Preacher's Coach.